Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is another 3-1-1 video. For those of you who are new to this series, it means I use one palette for 1 week and share with you 3 of my favorite looks that I came up with. I received a request for this palette and I was thrilled because it's featuring one of my all-time favorite palettes, and it is the Modern Renaissance palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. Now this one particularly features 8 matte shades and then 3 that I would say are satin matte. They just have a tiny little bit of sheen, which would be these 3 colors right here, and then there are 3 shimmer shades. I don't feel like the formulation of this palette is quite as soft as the other Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes. The Norvina, the Soft Glam, Sultry, those are great palettes, but I feel like there is a ton of fallout with those shadows. This one, I don't feel like there is as much. Now, if you are looking at this palette thinking, oh my word, no way, I would never wear half of those shades, stick with me, because when I personally pull out this palette, I actually naturally gravitate towards those really bright shades. But my challenge this week was to incorporate those bright shades in a much more wearable, subtle way, if you can believe that. So I came up with 3 very different looks than I am used to doing with this palette, and I hope that you enjoy seeing them. Now, before we jump into look number 1, make sure you hit that button below and subscribe to my channel, and let me know in the comments section if there are any palettes that you are struggling with inspiration for, and I'll try and do a 3-1-1 with them if I own that palette. All right, now without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into look number 1. So starting off our look with primed eyelids, I used the Smashbox 24-Hour Eyeshadow Primer. And now going in with the E50 from Sigma, I'm going to start with Tempera. And I'm going to place this all under the brow bone and to the top of the crease. And then take that same brush and go into the next shade, which is Golden Ochre, because I didn't want it to be too stark of a brow bone highlight. Then I'm going in with the Morphe M504 and the shade Bone Fresco, and I am putting this all through the crease. Now, because I have warmer skin tones, you will notice that it takes me a little more work to build this up and blend it. If you have cooler skin tones, you'll probably get a little bit of an easier blend with this shade. But I just took my time, layered that several times, and then went in with the Ulta Beauty Cream Eyeshadow and Liner Stick, and this is in the shade Rule of Plum. And you can use an eyeliner for this step if you want, but I just smudged this right into the roots of the lashes and then worked it up into kind of a wedge shape in the outer corner. And I like this formula because it's a little bit softer and it allows you to smudge it with your finger and get that going. And then I went in with the Sedona Lace 904 to further smudge just the top edge of that shadow. Then while I had it out, I just took that along the lower lash line about halfway across, smudged that with my finger, and then we're going to go in and top all of that with shadow. But first, we're going to go in with the E55 from Sigma and the shade Antique Bronze. And this shade was one that has been so underutilized, but it is beautiful. It is a plummy bronze shade, and I think it comes off very different on the lid than it looks in the pan. And you can see it is a very neutral shade, but just has a little bit of shimmer in it, and I just think it's a really pretty shadow. So I put that all over the lid, and then I am building up a little more intensity in that outer corner. And then I'm going to go in with a smaller brush, the Morphe M506, and further define and darken that outer corner, and then I'm blending that through the crease. So even though this has a little bit of shimmer, it still works kind of slightly blended through the crease. I'm not taking this above the crease, but just using that brush to blend it into our crease shade. Now I'm taking the Morphe M433 and more of that shade Buon Fresco and using that brush to further blend out the top of the crease. into that brow bone highlight. And just take your time. This might take a couple times through just to make sure that that's soft and blended. And then because I'm a warmer skin tone, I'm just adding the slightest little bit of burnt orange, holding the brush close to the tip of it. So I'm just lightly applying that right around the top edge of the top of the crease, and that is just going to warm up this shadow look just a little bit. Then going in with the EB21 from Sedona Lace, I'm going to use Cypress Umber, the darkest color in the palette, and I'm using this to further darken and deepen the outer corner and bring a little lift to that outer part of the eye, and then going back with the E55 and blending that together. Then I'm taking the Morphe M432 and more of Antique Bronze along the lower lash line. Next, going in with the CoverGirl Cream Eyeshadow Stick. This is in the number 920. I'm placing this in the inner corner as a base. You don't have to do this step. You can just wet your brush, but I wanted a little more intensity with this inner corner highlight. Then I'm taking my finger and I'm doing a combination of Vermeer and Primavera. And you will notice throughout this whole tutorial that I will be talking about cool tones and warm tones. If you get lost, look at my last video that I uploaded, but I like the mix of those two shades as my inner corner highlight because one is just a little bit too cool for me. So I blended those with the E30, and now I'm going back in with the E55 and a little more of Antique Bronze just to make sure those shades blend well together. After applying mascara, I am now going in with the E4, Morphe E4, and the Laura Mercier Très Chic Glow palette, and I'm using that beautiful rose-colored blush. It's so nice. These are really buildable blushes, so they're pigmented but not overly so. And then I'm going in with the MAC 140 fan brush and the highlighter shade in Luxe, applying that to the tops of the cheeks and the bridge of the nose and the Cupid's bow. And then I'm going into that middle shade, which is Gold Radiance, and applying that in the inner corner just for a little extra pop, and then using the E30 from Sigma to blend that. Going around the edge of the lips with the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. This helps my lip color stay in place and not bleed. And then I'm using the NYX Suede Lip Liner in Toulouse and going around the edge of the lips, and then I do actually fill in just slightly so there's not a harsh line around the edge of the lips before going in with the MAC Cream Sheen Lipstick in the shade Cream Cup. I think this is an iconic color. It's a beautiful nude pink, but there's still a good amount of pink, a little bit of cooler tones to that one. And then I topped it with the Huda Beauty Lip Strobe in the shade Angelic, and I just love the golden sheen that this gives to the lip color. And here is our final look. So we have that kind of bronzy, smoky eye, but it was super simple, and then kept the cheeks and the lips in that beautiful rose shade. Now going on to the next look, we're going to start off with the Sigma eyeshadow cream base in Ignite. Just wanted a little extra coverage on the lid, and then I'm taking the E50 from Sigma and that first shade Tempura and putting that under the brow bone and to the top of the crease. And then I'm also taking this around the outer corner of the eye because we're going to have a little more of a rounded look today. Taking the Morphe M504 and the shade Burnt Orange, I'm going to take this lightly through the crease and just blend, and layering that now a couple of times because I do want a little bit of warmth through the crease. This is going to be a kind of pinky purple look. So now using the same brush, we're going to go in with Love Letter, and I just barely touched my brush in there, tapped off the extra, and you will see how much pigment is still on that brush. So I am going to very, very, very lightly brush this through the crease. Just keep blending, and building up most of the color in the outer corner. And I did not have to go back and get more color. Now I am using the M433 from Morphe and going in with that same color. And now I'm concentrating this just in that outer corner. And you'll see what I'm doing. I'm tapping the color into the outer corner, and then I am just ever so slightly, very lightly brushing it towards the inner corner. So this is going to soften the edge, but I don't want this color to overtake the eye look. I don't want it to get above the crease. So then I'm going to go back with the Morphe M504 and go around it. So we're going to blend as we go and just very, very slowly add the color in the outer corner. Then I'm taking the M504 because I just want to keep this kind of warm and a little more neutral, so going back with a little more burnt orange around the edge of that. Now going in with my itty bitty Rockstar liner from Urban Decay, I'm going to use this. This is a really deep plum shade, so any plum liner you have will do, but I started halfway across the upper lash line and I'm building a wedge towards the outer corner and then making it super thin as I get in towards the inner corner, and just making sure it's nice and dark at the lash line, and then going in with the Sedona Lace 904 and blending the top edge of that out. And hopefully you will be recognizing a lot of these brushes from my favorite brushes video, which I will also link down below. But I am just blending that liner out first, and now I'm going to use that same brush and go in with Cypress Umber and further darken and set that liner in place. And even though this is a brown shade going over that plum liner, the plum liner just still leaves a hint of plum, adds a hint of plum to that brown, and I think just works well with Love Letter, which we are now going to go in on that same brush and further blend. So you can see with each color I'm blending up just a little bit higher than the previous color, but continuing to bring the brush towards the inner corner. Then taking the M433 and doing another softening blend over the edge of that. Then back with the 504 and a little more burnt orange and going around the edge of everything. Then I'm taking the E55 or E57 from Sigma, and I'm going in first with Vermeer. So first I go in with this dry, and then later I will spritz my brush. So you can save yourself a step and spritz your brush now, but I'm applying this all over from the inner corner to about 2/3 of the way across the lid. But because I do have that warmer skin tone, this was a little bit brighter and a little much starker than I wanted. So now I'm going in on the other side of that brush with Primavera, which has more gold, and the combination of those two makes the perfect kind of champagne color for me. Still has a little hint of pink, which goes with Love Letter, but not too much. Going back now with the M433 and a little more Love Letter, just blending the outer corner shades over the edge of that shimmer shade we have on the lid. And then taking the 904, a little more Cypress Umber, and darkening right at the lash line, just making sure that's nice and dark. And then I'm going to take that same brush and I'm going to use just a little bit of Venetian red on the inner part right at the lash line, just to give some depth, but I didn't want the harshness of the brown there. So now on the lower lash line, I'm going to use the NYX Faux Blacks pencil in Oxblood. This is a really pretty kind of rich reddish plum color. So taking this about halfway across the lower lash line, blend it a little bit with the finger, and then I'm going to top it with shadow. This is the M432, and I'm taking Cypress Umber right at the roots of the lashes, and this is going to help make you not look sick with pink in your eyes. Then I applied my trio of mascaras. I will link those down below, and then going back in with that E57, and I'm going to press it into Primavera first, and then I'm going to spritz my brush. So this is where you will see it applied wet, because I just felt like it needed a little more brightness, and you can see what a difference it goes on just so much more smoothly and brings more brightness there when you apply the shadow wet. So I like to dip my brush first in the shadow and then spritz the brush. Then I just blended over the edge of that with my finger and then flipped the brush over, and I'm going to add just a little bit of Vermeer right in the inner corner just to make sure that that's the brightest part of the eye. And that again will help this look. Even though I used pink shadows, it'll help you look awake and not sick. Then I'm taking the E47 and burnt orange just along the lower lash line just to soften that a little bit where the liner finished. And then I'm going back into the Laura Mercier palette, and I'm using that rose blush again. And this is the Sigma blush brush. And this is a more dense brush, but you can see it still does not, this blush does not go on too pigmented. So it is very buildable, which I think is nice. It's very forgiving. Now I'm going to take the MAC fan brush and that middle shade there, and I think this is Gold Radiance, and again putting that on the tops of the cheeks. I wanted something really bright and shimmery, and then I also use this on the bridge of the nose and the Cupid's bow, and just brings a really nice bit of glow to the face. And then went around the edge of the lips with the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. And now for my lip liner, I'm using the last remaining bit of the NYX Mauve lip liner. And again, just going around the edge. This is just a really nice neutral mauve shade, as the name describes. And then for my lip color, I'm using the Revlon Vinyl HD lip polish, and it's in the shade Birthday Suit. And these are really amazing. They smell good, they last really long, they're very pigmented. They're just a very unique formula, and I think Revlon did an amazing job with this. And here's our final look. So you can see we have a little hint of some plum, a little bit of pink, but it's not overpowering, but still looks feminine and fresh. And I just love this combination. Now for our final look, I'm starting off with the Smashbox 24-Hour Shadow Primer again, and now going in with the MAC Paint Pot in Groundwork. This is a different one than I usually use. I'm just putting this down. This isn't necessary, but I wanted just a little extra grip and a little bit of a shadow on the lid before I go in with the matte shades, because this is going to be an all matte eye look. First, starting off now along the brow bone with a combination of golden ochre and tempera on the E50 from Sigma. Now going in with the Jaclyn Hill Morphe brush. This is the JH36, and I'm going in with that first shade along the bottom, and that's called Raw Sienna. And I am taking this all the way through the crease, and this is going to give you a hint. This is going to be a very fall-inspired look, and as I said previously, it is going to be all matte. So I am taking my time. I am layering this up, building it up in the crease. This is a smaller crease brush. I talked about this in my favorite brushes, but it does a really good job if you've got smaller eyes, blending through the crease especially. And now I'm taking the Sigma E55 and the bright orange called Real Gar, and I am now packing this on the outer corner. Now don't be afraid. Even though this looks like a bright orange, it's going to come together. And so I am just patting that shadow on the outer corner, and this is where that MAC paint pot is helping grip the shadow and hold it in place a little bit better than just on our bare eyelid. Then going back with that JH36, blending just the top edge. You don't need to take the brush all the way through that orange, just around the top. And then I'll take a little bit more of Real Gar, and you're going to see me kind of layer and blend a couple times. And I'm just bringing it up a little bit more through the crease, and then going back with the Jaclyn Hill brush and a little more of Raw Sienna and blending the top edge of that out. Then going in with the EB21 and Cypress Umber. And I'm going to use this to further darken and just create a really nice bit of depth here in the outer corner. And I am just kind of creating a little bit of a wedge shape again. And I do this in all my looks just because it provides a little bit of more of a lifted look on the outer corner. And then I'm going to slowly blend that using the side of the brush, and then go in with the E55 and blend that into the Real Gar shade that we have there. Going back to the E21, now I'm going to darken the lash line just a little bit, going all the way to the inner corner, and I'm just putting a little bit of a shadow. I am going to use liquid liner later, but this is going to help that liquid liner not look so harsh because we're already going to have a shadow there. Now I'm taking the E60 and a combination of warm taupe and raw sienna. And because I have warmer skin tones, I need to do the combination because warm taupe is a little too cool. But I loved the combination of the two mixed with that orange. I found this to be a very unique combination. And then I'm using a little bit of tempera right in the inner corner, blended into those shades to provide a little bit of some brightness there. Then go back with the Real Gar on the E55 and make sure that that taupe shade blends into the orange shade. And then one more time through the crease with our crease brush. Now for our lower lash line, I'm using the Urban Decay liner in Torch, taking this about halfway across, and I'm starting here, gonna smudge it out, and then I'm gonna use the M432 and Cypress Umber, and again placing this right at the lash line so that again it doesn't make us look like we're tired. Having that nice depth right at the lash line really helps when you're using pinks, reds, and oranges on the eye. Then going in with the Kat Von D Mad Max Brown, my favorite liquid liner. You do need to shake it. And now I'm going to take my time. I am going just super thin, close to the lash line at the inner corner. And then as I get about halfway across, I'm going to start thickening that line and bringing it up slightly. And I am going to do a wing liner, so need to adjust my mirror. Just take your time, and I like to drag the pen back towards the eye and then gradually lengthen that wing there, and then deepen it as you go along. You can use a mixture of just feathering it out like I am right here, just a real light stroke out, and then take your pen and pull that line back towards the lashes. And this is a technique I use all the time. I think it helps you keep control over that liner, and so it helps your wing not get too thick. Then going in with the e.l.f. smudge brush and Real Gar and raw sienna mixed together, I'm going to now place this below that liquid liner, and this is going to again help that liquid liner not be too harsh or look too dramatic out there. It's just going to kind of create a little bit of a cloud of color around it, and then I'll also use that just to soften the inner part of the lower lash line. After applying mascara and fixing my hair and putting on my shirt, everything looks like it's coming together. Now I'm using this Natasha Denona Mini Bronze and Glow, and I'm using the bronze shade as my blush today. I thought it was the perfect color, just really doing kind of more of a monochromatic look. And then of course I have to go into the Too Faced Sugar Peach palette and use the shade Peach Honey on the Spotlight Duster from Sigma. That's the F37, and I'm using that more along the top of the cheek and then bringing it around kind of the edge of my brow as well. Going back to that Laura Mercier palette, I wanted to use this since I showed it in a haul video a while back. Wanted to show you that I am getting good use out of this and using a combination of both Luxe and Gold Radiance as my highlighter with the MAC fan brush. And putting that on the tops of the cheekbones, the bridge of the nose, Cupid's bow, and then going in with my pinky and a little more tempera since we're keeping the eyes all matte. I did not add an inner corner, a shimmery inner corner highlight, and then using the E30, just further blending that out. and then using a little bit of golden ochre to blend that color into our lid shade. Going around the edge of the lips with the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot, as always. And then for lip liner, I'm using the L'Oreal Mastermind lip liner. This is a really nice, lighter, kind of mid-tone nude shade, a little more on the warm side, but love it, with this Origins Blooming lipstick. These are so nice. The packaging is super weighty. The formula is wonderful. It's hydrating. They're pigmented. This shade is Champagne Orchid. They do have a hint of rose, which is not my favorite scent, but it's not off-putting and it does go away. And here's the finished look. I just love how all of these colors came together on the eyes to create this beautiful fall-inspired look. Thank you as always so much for watching. I'll see you next time.